welcome to the Bad Movie Reviews channel, hosted by Daniel, and we've got myself, Ben. So we used to give you a little bit of update, we used to do podcasts mainly, but we'll be changing to pretty much just a solo solid film review, which this week we'll be touching on one of the films, Bones and All, which is the latest, I may butcher this, Luca Guadagnino name.
Glad you said that, not me.
Who directed, for anyone who doesn't know, Call Me By Your Name, which I absolutely adore, the remake of the horror film Suspiria. And basically it's just essentially to give you a bare bones, no pun intended, plot synopsis. It's basically starring Timothy Chalamet and Taylor Russell as a young couple who happen to be cannibals while she's trying to find her lost mum, you could say.
Yeah, and herself all the
and
same
herself,
time.
like, you know, in herself. But I guess there's a lot to unpack here because obviously it's a film that kind of takes a very serious subject, really, and it's kind of fucked. But yeah, a lot to unpack. What were your initial thoughts? I actually just got back from seeing it a second time, so I've probably got a little bit more to
touch on. I'm actually interested to see on some of your extra thoughts, but look, you're probably going to make the joke, but there is a lot to digest in this film. And I think you do have to have a very open mind to the concept of the film. Look, I'm not a romance movie person. If you ever watch any of our other videos or podcasts, you'll know that they're usually not something I lean towards, and I kind of have a little bit of prejudice towards them, but it's really hard to kind of find a fault in this movie. And I've tried, and I really want to.
You want to find a fault.
Because of my, zero passion for romance-based movies. But look, I thought it did everything excellent. It took this very controversial topic and made a romantic kind of thing out of it that had aspects of both horror and comedy. And it was weird to feel like empathetic towards them, which is probably not a great thing, but it was to kind of like, these people didn't really want to be in the situation they were in or have the life that they have. And it really makes you kind of nearly understand where they're coming from and relate. And it's...
Makes you want to eat a few people, you think? No? Okay.
Look, maybe not Bones and All, but yeah, look, I enjoyed it. Yeah, I really did enjoy it. And I think the more I've thought on it, I've enjoyed it. I really loved all the casting, from obviously the main two there, and that real creepy dude. What's his name?
Mark Rylance, who plays Sully.
My
Sully.
God, no, thank you. That guy, no, fantastically acted.
He was superb. Yeah,
like it was so uncomfortable. It was phenomenal. Like it was
hard to watch. Really, like it was very. There's just scenes in the middle of the day where he's having conversations, and it's just like hard.
Sometimes it's hard to like even make kind of horror or creepy elements during like broad daylight kind of scenarios. And
it really comes down to like the acting in that situation. Yeah,
definitely showed a lot of spark, a lot of talent between all those three. That's for sure. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the direction it went in. Ending was probably a little bit ambiguous for me, which I'm sure you might have a little bit more to touch on if you can. I don't know if you can, but I really like the plot. I like the whole way it went in. I like how messed up it was, but kind of the way a lot of movies probably been explored this year. No matter the situation you're in, no matter what you're going through or what you're achieving or how great you are or how poor you are, it seems like love is like kind of the one thing that really everyone aims for, that really kind of gels you as a human together.
And then there's actually a quote in the film monsters have no place for love or something like that, which kind of actually stuck with me because I tend to agree a lot of films this year have really been about love and that relationship and even friendship love. Like, no,
100%. And it's, look, I thought they did phenomenally in this film. I enjoyed the movie overall. If you're going to watch it, be a little bit open-minded because the little bit of the controversial topic.
Yeah, to touch on, I guess that's kind of your handover. To touch on that, the cinema, we went to luckily an early screening with critics, and you generally will never have this in those kind of sessions because they take their job very seriously, as we do here at Bad Movie Reviews. But I saw it with a friend of mine in a opening night, and we had a few people, for instance, who obviously saw Call Me By Your Name, and didn't know anything about this, and it's a vastly different category, really, apart from the romance. That's the main thing. But and they were just talking the whole time, and like anytime anything happened. But no, actually, to actually touch on the movie itself, I wholeheartedly, I thought this was brilliant. The way it handled the actual subject matter. I know it's based on a book. I haven't read the book, but the actual subject matter is really quite fucked and cannibalism. But the way they actually deal with it's really interesting. It's not as if like, you know, these people are cannibals and they just chose to be. It's actually almost like Harry Potter, where you're kind of born a wizard, like you're born a cannibal kind of thing. That's the way they that's the way they kind of deal with it. And I think that's a great choice because it really, as you said, helps you build empathy for these characters, and it goes into their backstories and situations that are really, really hard to hear, and it kind of really makes you feel, and you actually end up really rooting for these main two characters. And I think this film would really fail if it didn't have good performances.
Agreed.
And I thought Taylor Russell as Marin was fantastic. I haven't actually seen her, I think, in anything before, but I thought she was brilliant. She's in Waves. Sorry, I have actually seen that.
And I think she's in Lost in Space, which is one of my favourite sci-fi TV series on Netflix. Would recommend also. Side note.
She actually is. She plays Judy.
Yeah.
Never heard of, yeah.
Anyway.
And I thought as you said, Mark Rylance as Sully was really, really good, kind of stole a few scenes. But I thought Taylor Russell definitely ate this film up, literally. And Timothée Chalamet, I think this is one of his more like poignant and like really humble performances. Like he's very charismatic and not like overboard like his other films. Not that it's a bad thing, but like he's very much present. Whereas in this film, he's this mysterious guy who kind of has heaps of charisma and he's really likable, even though, as you said, he eats people. So fair play to all the performances, and the cinematography is beautiful. It is a beautiful looking movie. And one thing I actually said to you after it, that the score was one of the most perfect scores to go.
Unreal.
One of the most perfect scores to sort of go. There's scores that are like I'll listen to outside of watching a movie, but this score accompanies this movie so well. I actually said it reminded me a little bit of the video game The Last of Us, if you've seen that. The way it's mainly built around like an acoustic guitar and has that really warm feeling, but then it's also utilized to like give you this really creepy, unsettled feeling as well.
Agreed.
But other than that, I thought this film was really fantastic. My only really thing is it is probably quite long. Or like it's only 2 hours and 11 minutes, but it probably felt
it's a lot long.
It felt well. The thing is, I've seen films that are longer than that, but this kind of felt long, if that makes sense.
The pacing was very interesting. It followed a weird format, that's for sure.
Yeah. But other than that, some of these things really just stuck with me. Like some of the dialogue as well. It's really built around love, and it's funnily enough that you talk mainly about romance. You could say it's also a coming of age movie, which you notoriously hate too. So bang bang, we've caught him, ladies and gentlemen. We've got him. But I do think this film is actually a beautiful story, just about two young people finding themselves and falling in love. Obviously, it's dealing with a really grim subject matter, and it doesn't really shy away from that. But it's also not in the fact where it's like grotesque or like disgusting on purpose, like a Saw film where it's gore horror. It's but no, I do think it's a beautiful film and beautifully told. And I also got to give major props to. I know I said this to you before we saw it. The whole cast and crew, basically, none of them took any salary when making it, and Chalamet actually produced it.
That's pretty
obviously
cool.
Working with Luca and didn't actually none of the cast or crew made any money until it was. Well, they crew not so much, but the cast and the director didn't actually make any money until it was. The rights were bought by whoever purchased the right, MGM, I think. But so you can really tell it's a passion project. There's a lot of love put behind every
100%
every frame and the performances. But other than that, I've sort of obviously brought on a few things. But have you got anything to sort of top off?
Other than kind of what we talked about, I guess after the film, like if you watch any of our other podcasts or anything we've talked about it, we always give props to Florence Pugh on her acting with just body language and facial expressions and how unreal that is in the whole aspect of the storytelling and everything that goes on. And Timothée Chalamet, I feel like, follows a lot of that. He can act with just facial expressions, with the way he stands and poses before certain scenes and in certain lighting. And he tells the story with his body without having to say words. And then he talks them around love. But look,
I think he's really solidified himself as an actor that I will go see anything he's in.
yeah.
And he's come out and obviously said that he's not going to be in superhero films, which Leonardo DiCaprio told him to do. But every film he's done, really, apart from Dune, you actually, like, all of them have been really relatively small character studies, like independent films. And there's been a few, obviously, big budget movies that he's been in. I think
Was The King independent?
was Netflix, so it wasn't really, but kind of like it wasn't a huge.
I thought it was pretty well produced though.
No, that was a good film.
Yeah, it was
But I know he's obviously got the Willy Wonka film coming out where he's
Dope.
Yeah, he will actually am very keen, and he's also playing Bob Dylan in a Bob Dylan biopic, which I think he'd be fantastic. You actually get a few sneak peeks of him singing in this film. But other than that, we'll kind of I guess cap that off there. We'll also have a Glass Onion Knives Out 2 review coming out shortly as well. So feel free to catch us on that. Otherwise, we'll obviously see you next time.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.